I switched my focus from what you hear from so many business coaches of, oh, start writing a blog and a lead magnet and have people opt in and then send the whole email sequence of 8 emails until they unsubscribe and be active on Instagram. And actually the past month, I haven't posted anything, not even on my stories, not anything, but I have gotten way more clients because I focused on the right actions.
Welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused to inspire you to take action to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Posivy, author of The Way Success Works, How to Decide, Believe, and Begin to Live Your Best Life. Today's guest really lives a life by design. When she left her corporate job in Belgium and landed in Peru, Maya Lombarts was not interested in another full-time job. Instead, she has crafted a life that is a true fit for her passions and preferences that involves no less than 6 side hustles, some paying her in her local currency and others in dollars and euros. Nice. Her most lucrative side hustle is in her role as a virtual assistant, a VA. It's her number one because in addition to being really good at it, she didn't turn to the usual gig platforms for work, but instead doubled down on an often overlooked but potential goldmine of a source for clients. In this episode, Maya shares tips and tricks for challenging your assumptions about what you can and should charge clients, who to ask for advice, and how to explore the potential business opportunities in your areas of passion. She might even inspire you to ask yourself, are you living exactly where you want to live? Be sure to catch the end of episode takeaway, where I'll challenge you about the choices you've been making, how I became aware of unconscious false beliefs that have been guiding my choices, and how we can become more open to expanded possibilities that lead to wiser choices. Now here is my conversation with side hustle hero, Maya Lombarts. Well, welcome, Maya.
Hey, Joan, so great to be here.
Most of the side hustle heroes I've spoken with have had a full-time job with 1, maybe 2 side hustles, but you're skipping the whole full-time job thing altogether and instead juggling no less than 6 hustles. That, I guess, really is more of a lifestyle choice, isn't it?
Yeah, I always like the variety and flexibility of doing many things. And when I first started sort of building an online business, I was like, no, I don't want to be distracted by a corporate job, whether it's part-time or full-time. I want to do my own thing. So I did make sacrifices in the beginning, let's say income-wise. I accepted not earning almost anything in the beginning, but I felt so good to just have all my time and energy to build my own thing.
But you were working in the corporate realm or that full-time 9 to 5 some point earlier in your career, right?
Yeah, I was. I graduated in office management, so I was working as a manager and operations manager in several companies. And well, now, one of the side hustles, is virtual assistant or operational business manager. So basically, I'm being an office manager, but for several online entrepreneurs in a flexible way online.
What happened that suddenly you thought, you know what, I don't want to do this employee thing anymore? Was there something that clicked or some change happened?
Yeah, I'm always such an initiative-taking person. And when I work in a business, I really look at that business as my own. So that's just in my nature. And when I was actually, I think the reason is because I'm living in Peru now and I'm originally from Belgium.
Okay.
And after 3 years of being in Peru and I was working as a manager in a Spanish school here, but with that local salary, I couldn't buy my plane tickets back to Belgium. It's impossible. It's a lot of money, Peruvian soles versus euros. So then after 3 years, I said, okay, I'm done with Peru. I'm moving back to Belgium. It's better life standards and social security and da-da-da.
Yes.
And I tried, but I just wasn't happy there. So I went into a corporate, like a design company. I was an office manager there. I was doing great, but my heart wasn't singing,
That's
And
so
I said,
important too.
I said, what if I can build something online, have several income streams that give me the flexibility and the income to live in Peru and be able to fly back to Belgium once a year and visit my family. So that was kind of the big goal for me.
Wow. So that you can set it up in such a way that you don't have to rely on the local economy for your income, as well as the local currency as well.
Yeah, but then still be in my happy place, even though it doesn't really benefit me to earn the local currency because that doesn't allow me to go to the expensive other side of
Hmm.
the world, Europe. And
Yes.
yeah, still be able to be here.
So how long have you been in Peru?
Yeah, I was supposed to stay for 3 months in the very beginning, and I've been
Okay.
here for 7 years now in total.
So you spent a few months there, then went back to Belgium and then thought, no, this ain't it.
No, actually, when I
You
was
came
still
back.
here during my first 3 months,
Hmm.
I had already decided like I had to return to Belgium to graduate and all that stuff. But I felt like there was something more for me here. So I
Mm.
said, okay, you know what? What if I can just stay and go back home when I feel like going home? And like my parents kept on waiting on that feeling as, as was I.
I love how you shifted the question. Well, even brought up the question because so many people in your situation would say, "Ah, gosh, I would love to live here in Cusco, but I can't because of all the reasons that you just mentioned." But you basically set that aside and said, how can I? How can I make
Mm.
this work? And
Yeah,
then suddenly all these possibilities opened up, like the online businesses.
yeah, I'm a very hopeful and optimistic person, and I always like the challenge of what if it's possible? Sometimes we think
Hmm.
first, no, no, I can't because with this money, la, la, la. And then I said, what if there's a way? And I was just kind of searching for the way.
Wow. Well, and speaking of challenges, you said you like challenges. As I mentioned earlier, you don't have one hustle, but you've got six going. You mentioned a virtual assistant, a VA. What else have you got going?
Yeah, so I'm a professional singer here in Cusco, Peru. So
Wow.
that was, I like to call it the best side effect of my time in Peru because I never expected that to happen, but singing has been my passion since I was a kid.
So were you singing and performing in Belgium?
Performing, not really, but I was
Okay.
singing since I was a kid and I took
Mm.
classes when I was a teenager. But I always learned that it's hard to earn money with music or art in general. So even in primary school, I changed that dream from becoming a
Mm.
singer to becoming an accountant because I heard that every business needs an accountant.
Wow, talk about a shift.
I know I gave up that dream as a kid because I was like, no, that's not realistic. We need to be realistic. And so, yeah, I did find some bands, but then in Belgium, it's more of a hobby where people just get together on a Saturday and rehearse and never get anywhere.
Hmm.
So I gave that up. And then I came to Peru and I met some musicians here and I said, oh, yeah, I sing. And we did a couple of songs together. And they said, how much do you want to earn?
A great question.
And I was like, they're going to let me sing here and they're going to pay me for it? What? So that became one of the side hustles. I call it kind of my evening job,
Okay.
where during the day I like to do a million things on my laptop, and then in the evening I'm hyper social, kind of performing and connecting with people.
That's terrific. And so, what would you say average in a month earning singing?
Like I have around 3, 4 gigs a week,
Nice.
so that would be, let's say in a month it could add up to like 250 or $300.
Doing something you love
Yeah,
to do.
exactly. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. And in Peru, that is a lot. That would pay for my rent, so that's great.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, VA, professional singer. What else?
Yeah, what else? Let's see. I rent out the other room in my apartment.
Okay.
So that's a way for me to I rent it out to tourists. So basically when there's always someone renting,
Mm,
I don't have to pay rent. So that's another way for me to provide for myself.
terrific. That's
What
three.
else? I have an online membership which is called Maya's Journaling Corner.
Oh,
And that came from kind of the online coaching. I got a certification in functional medicine, health coaching, and I love working with people and improving their health because of my own background. I struggled with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome when I was 15.
mm,
So I dove into mindfulness and positive psychology from a very young age just to find my own solutions.
sure.
And so now that coaching kind of turned into a membership because I'd say I'd had private clients first on Zoom. Then I did kind of a group program, but then some clients wanted to stick around. As another membership is a nice, more passive way of just selling on a monthly basis some resources like meditations I've recorded or worksheets or journal prompts I've created. And
Yes.
people pay per month. And like twice a month, we have a live journaling session on Zoom. And so I guide some prompts with them and we journal together. And that's it. The rest kind of sells itself.
Wow. And those online live journaling sessions, how long are they typically?
An hour. Yeah. We
Hmm.
mostly journal like 45 minutes, an hour, because we start with a guided meditation and then we get into 5 journal prompts. I like to pull an oracle card as well, because during COVID, I got a certification as an astrologer because that's a passion of mine too. Now,
Wow.
I'm not actively giving sessions, but it is something I love
Yes.
using for myself. Yeah.
Well, that is such a benefit of the lifestyle that you've carved out for yourself, in that you can bring in these various aspects of what you like to do versus trying to fit all that into one job that's just not going to happen. Because the things you've
Yeah.
mentioned are quite diverse.
Exactly. And I embraced being a diverse person because you always hear, like, oh, find your niche or you need to focus on one thing. But what if they're all just, I mean, we all have several hobbies, we
Hmm.
all love several things. And what
Yeah.
if you can just combine it? Again, like asking myself, how is it possible or how can I do this? Kind of against what everyone's saying of you need to focus on one thing.
Hmm. And I guess the sixth one, you mentioned something about selling tours.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me because I was like, what was the other
You've got so
one?
many of them, you lose count.
Yeah, because it's just a very small thing. The fact that I rent out the other room in my apartment, they are tourists, right? And sometimes I also organize like a couch surfing meeting here, which is a free, just a hobby of mine on Tuesdays. I like bringing people together. So I just post an event on couch surfing and Facebook saying, hey, there's a meetup every Tuesday, 8 p.m. I show up and then a bunch of travelers and expats and locals show up. So I have my Peruvian local friends. And apart
Yes.
from that, I meet a lot of foreigners as well and tourists who come here. Or they send
Wow.
me a message saying, hey, what's the best way to visit Machu Picchu? And so that's when I recommend my friend's travel agency. So I just send
Hmm.
them that's all I do.
Yes.
And I tell, hey, this person is going to contact you for some tours. And then they give me a commission. So that's
Yes.
another income stream of, they just give me a percentage or like $20 here and there,
Hmm.
which is a nice extra always.
Right. And you want to connect with those people anyway.
Exactly. They're in my life anyway. They ask me questions anyway. So
Yes.
might as well earn a little bit off of that.
That's fun. Well, given your love of Peru and your knowledge of Cusco and how you like to interact with people, have you ever thought of doing your own guided tours in the area?
Interesting. I have been thinking about like organizing health retreats here
Mm,
because there's a lot of woo-woo stuff here. There's a lot of yoga and ayahuasca, more the spiritual
yes.
retreats. But I embrace that part, but also the part of, okay, what about your lifestyle, your stress management? What about just a retreat where you just come to Cusco? There's an intense spiritual energy here, so you benefit from that and you get coached by me or just some guidance of, okay, how are you going to do things differently when you get back to your home, your place, right? It's
Hmm.
not enough to just retreat and be in another universe and then come back to your old world, not
Right.
making any changes. So that's been playing around in my mind. Maybe, yeah, I'd love to do that one day.
Fantastic. I do want to ask you about the three that anyone could essentially do. That's creating the online membership group, the freelancing as a VA,
Mhm.
and earning commissions on selling tours. Of those three, what's your most lucrative?
Virtual assistants.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the membership, I feel like I still need to put it out there, be active on social media,
Yes.
kind of run a promotion and get people to sign up. Whereas the virtual assistants, that has been flowing just, I mean, people know what it is. Entrepreneurs have a budget most of the time for
Hmm.
outsourcing.
Hmm.
And so it's way easier to sell for me. Like last month in October, I was pretty low on income because I had just visited my family in Belgium, spent of my euros, right? And then coming back here, I was like, okay, I took a whole month vacation. And so then I had to get back to work. So I really jumped into Facebook groups about virtual assistants where people post job opportunities.
Mhm.
I started contacting people like crazy on Upwork. Upwork
Yes.
and Fever are but Upwork is nice because you can just apply to jobs. And that worked really well. From that, now I have to stop contacting people because I'm getting pretty booked up.
You need to hire a VA.
Yeah, yeah. I need to hire a VA, maybe for my membership, right? To run that. Now I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm helping all these other businesses, but what about mine? But I do think the past 2 years that I've been building my online business and the health coaching and journaling, that experience has helped me a lot to support others in doing the same, in creating an email campaign or a lead magnet or manage their podcasts, right? I have one myself. And so those experience of running an online business has really helped me to become a better VA. And that's what's paying off right now because people are like, oh, you can do that too. Oh, you can do accountancy too, because I kind of studied that in high school. Oh,
And
So
because
yeah,
you've gone through that too, you can also help them anticipate other things that they're going to have to deal with
yeah,
because you've
because
done that yourself.
from some people I hear that, I was looking for a VA, but I need someone more proactive who tells me what I should be focusing on. And as you know by now, I'm a very active and proactive person. So that's something I naturally do. I think with that person about their business, about what they could be focusing on. Because you might know it as well. When you look at your own business, it's too close up. You're in
Yes.
it every day and it's hard to see things clearly. But when you look at someone else's business, it's crystal clear, right?
Yes. Yes. And then you come in being the superstar when you're able to point that out for them. So what
Yeah.
would you typically earn as a VA?
Typically, right now, that was my first goal, and I'm reaching it now in November, like the first 1,000, which is great because before, actually, I made a mistake last year of really charging very low freelance prices because I was thinking in Peruvian soles. Said, oh yeah, $11 an hour. Oh yeah, it's fine. Pretty low. So yeah,
Yes.
my business
Yeah.
is European, right? So my accountancy, I pay it in euros.
Yes. Yeah.
So my business costs are in euros, or my platform, my CRM system, everything is in dollars and euros. So I need to force myself, even though I'm in an environment that has a way lower currency, I need to force myself to really think and charge in euros and dollars.
Yes.
So yeah, that was last year, kind of a slow start. And then now when I went back to Belgium, it really motivated me because I talked to a couple of freelancers, designers who were like, so what is virtual assistance? They said. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm in Peru and I hear all these things from the US. And it's like a very normal thing already in the US that every entrepreneur, oh, I'll give it to my VA. I'll give it to my VA. But then I come to Europe and Belgium and I talk to Italian people as well. And they were like, no, we don't know what that is. I said, okay, interesting. Here's a market
Yes.
that I could help. And those freelancers, those designers said, Maya, you should really create a page on your website where you clearly state what it is, what you can offer, why it's important to hire a VA, and reach out to any business contact you have, like from the past. And they said, okay, you know what? Here, freelance prices are minimum 50 an hour. Right. Minimum. And if it's SEO and website tweaks, it's 60, 70. And just I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that to then come back to Peru and dive in. I was low on income and I was like, all right, I'm just going to stalk and contact everyone. And it really paid off.
And in order for you to achieve that, you needed to focus more on contacting those people directly versus relying on some of the platforms like Fiverr, et cetera, which would be showing that $11 an hour.
Exactly. And what I did was I applied to jobs that were offering a pay of like 11 or 10 or 20 an hour. But I would apply and show my value and say, hey, before you look at my rate, I know it's higher, but I'm a pretty fast and efficient worker and proactive. And I sent them my page. And there are like 2 people who were like, you know what? My budget was lower, but I feel like in the end, I would save money by working with you. So really kind of
Absolutely.
just convincing of your worth and how you
Hmm.
can help them, that really
Yes.
helps. And yeah, I switched my focus from what you hear from so many business coaches of, oh, start writing a blog and a lead magnet and have people opt in and then send the whole email sequence of 8 emails and until they unsubscribe
Yeah,
and
exactly.
be and be active on Instagram. And actually the past month, I haven't posted anything, not even on my stories, not anything, but I
Hmm.
have gotten way more clients because I focused on the right actions. I think the outreach and really specifically thinking about the people who you could help and just reach out and tell them how you can help, right?
So these new clients, then, they are not coming to you from those platforms that specialize in these, like 99 Designs and Fiverr, et cetera, but ones that you've developed and reached out to. Good for
Yeah, so
you.
one of them does come from Upwork, just one.
Hmm.
And then the other ones, I'm really thankful for the functional medicine practitioner who I sent her a lot of clients because sometimes they come to me, they find me on Google, and then I feel like they need the lab work for first. They don't really need the coaching from my
Okay.
end. So I send them to the practitioner first, like, hey, let's first figure out what's going on in your body. But
Hmm.
then sometimes it happened that they didn't come back to me. They were like, okay, now I know what's wrong. I can do it myself, right? And then a year after, they're back at zero. But anyway, so I sent her a lot of clients, but I didn't earn anything from that. And then now she's kind of recommending me to her other functional medicine colleagues. And three of them have hired me right now as a VA. And they love the fact that I know functional medicine. I have a coaching business. I know
Yes.
what it
Perfect
is to have
fit.
an online business. Yeah. And so I can support them way better.
I mean, that sounds way niche what you just described, but
Mm.
there are 8+ billion people around the planet. So there could be more than enough clients there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is quite niche. And that's why it's not really my niche. I'm not focusing on it. It is
Hmm.
happening right now. So that's great.
Just to backtrack a little bit, I'm glad you're not one of those people that send the annoying 8 emails after or
I
messages. I
don't.
I find that some people, well, not some, too many that have reached out to me on LinkedIn. That's what it's all about. As soon as I accept their invite, there's this stream of those messages that keep coming out, you know?
Yeah, even
Hey,
on
just wanted
LinkedIn,
to bring
right?
this back up to the top of your inbox. And I'm like,
Please stop. That's
yeah.
because there's this kind of the books that say that like these sales strategies, that people can't ignore you anymore after what is it, 7 or 8 messages. And so they try to apply that strategy, but it's annoying as.
Hmm. Yeah.
So annoying. So even with the welcome sequence in my emails, I have four. That's
Hmm.
my absolute max. And they are spread out over a couple of days and they do provide some value. So, but even that feels like sometimes I just want to have one, like, hey, welcome to my email list, period. Things might come up and I just have a monthly newsletter. That's it.
But I think you nailed it when you said adding value, giving them content, that you're not just there to sell. It's here's something that can help you. Here's some good
Yeah.
content so that people want to open up your emails. So they see,
Yeah.
oh, it's from I got to check this out. There's something good in there. It's not just a sales pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Just really instead of, oh, here's my story and here's your problem and here's a struggle and here's how I can help you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so same with my website. I used to build it in a way of the things I learned online of, oh, you have to talk about the struggle and then about your solution and about the
Hmm.
promise and all that stuff. And basically, my mind is very practical. So when I see a long landing page, I don't even read it.
Right.
I go straight to what's included in every module. And then I go straight to like looking for the price, and hopefully it's on there.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that for myself as well for my website. And I actually got a reaction of a Belgian entrepreneur who said, hey, you know what? I love your website and it's so practical and it's so straightforward
It
and
is. Yeah.
there's no fluff. So I would love to work with you because I feel like if you do my client communications and support, it would sound like me and it would just be very to the point. I said,
Yes.
all right, just kind of following your own voice. And in the end, there are a million ways to build a business, but just if you do it with your own voice, that's the only way it works. Because if you're trying someone
Absolutely.
else's strategy, it just the energy isn't behind the words.
Yeah. And it's not you.
It's not you.
And
Yeah.
that's going to come out. I wanted to ask you what your typical week looks like, but now I'm thinking there probably isn't a typical week for you.
Nah, and I love
Or
it.
is there? Yeah, no. Okay.
So, okay, so generally speaking, I am most productive in the mornings. So I like to wake up at 8 and then just the first thing I do is meditate. I like sleeping a lot. So if I can sleep at 11 p.m. and wake up at 8, I'm
Mhm.
so happy. So the first thing I do is meditation, just to keep that motivation up.
Mhm.
And then by 9 a.m., I just start working and I have, some client work or some meetings and until 1 p.m. So I think 9 a.m., 1 p.m. is like my fixed work window where I'm super productive. And then I allow my brain to kind of get scattered, because in Peru, life is not planned.
Mhm.
And so many people go for lunch together. Like lunch is a big moment. So it's often you pay only $2 or $3 for a soup, a main dish, and a drink.
Wow.
And the portions are huge. So I take my container with me, and it's enough for my dinner as well.
Holy. And how long
Yeah,
do
so
those luncheons usually last?
an hour, 2 hours,
Okay.
really taking it slow. And often there's a friend who says, "Hey, you want to go for lunch?" Or I ask someone, and it's really a moment for people to get together and have lunch together.
Hmm.
So that's when because it's so much and the food can be so heavy at this altitude, digestion. So in the afternoon, I'm a bit more tired. So I might just plan a podcast chat, or right now I'm chatting with you. It's the
Yes.
afternoon. Or I might meet with a friend, or maybe I do have some tweaks on a client's website that I want to make, that I still want to get done. But mostly, if I know that I have a gig in the evening, I will just chill way more in the afternoon because
Right.
I know it's a lot of energy and I need to kind of being energy saving mode in the afternoon so that in the
Hmm.
evening I have all the vibes for the audience.
I love how you've got the flexibility because of the lifestyle that you've built to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I also need that because when I struggled with my health, I thought I would never be able to have a full-time job. In the end, I did improve my health and I was able to work full-time, but still listening to my body is so important to me.
Hmm.
And for me, in order to not collapse or have a setback or get sick, I need to be able to, when I wake up tired for no apparent reason, I need to be able to listen to my body and take it easy. So that's something I learned when I was 15, and it's still so important. And Peru allows me to do that because life is so flexible that social life is not planned. I don't know what's going to happen today in my evening, but I know something will happen. Or maybe not. Maybe I don't feel like it and I will stay on my couch. Yeah, so that allows me to listen to my body and go with that flow of my energy levels.
So you don't make social bookings ahead of time?
Not at all. Like a Peruvian person, when you say, "Hey, today it's Wednesday, let's go for dinner on Friday or Saturday," they will be
Hmm.
like, "I don't know how I'm gonna feel on Friday or Saturday. I don't know what my day will look like. I can make a commitment right now."
Really?
Yeah, really. Yeah, really. And canceling is very normal, and some people might call it flaky, but actually, the flakiness has a lot of benefits.
Sounds like more living in the moment.
It is. It is. I think Peruvians, to an extreme extent, sometimes they live in the moment. So I always say a mix of both cultures would be best, like more the
Hmm.
Western culture and then the Latin
Yeah.
culture. Because sometimes here, Peruvians arrive late or are a bit too flaky. But then in Belgium, or sometimes, and in the US too, I know my friends in the US also complain about their overly planned social life
Yes.
and how it's just all scheduled, even hobbies and social life, it's all in there. So there's no space for spontaneity.
That can be very prevalent in Canada, here in Canada as well.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. I didn't realize you're in Canada right now. I just don't know where people are when we're in the world of Zoom.
Yes, you'd mentioned the kind of almost like the best of both worlds. And that's one of the things I love about traveling, Maya, is that we get to see these other cultures and recognize that the way we do things is just the way we do things. That's not necessarily the only way or the best way. And throughout my travels, I don't think one culture or one country has it nailed. But it's like you said, it's kind of like, I want to do more of that Peruvian thing. And I appreciate and acknowledge this Belgian aspect of me that helps me in business, especially when you're straddling different continents and different clients. You've got a better sense of their expectation. And I very
Yeah.
fortunately have been to Peru a couple of times, and Cusco in particular. And you'd mentioned
Nice.
about the elevation, but someone that hasn't been there might not. So maybe speak to that for the moment and its proximity to Machu Picchu.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm located, I don't know if you count in meters or feet, but it's 3,400 meters
Mm-hmm.
altitude. Yeah, it's pretty high. And yeah, in the beginning it was difficult because your body needs to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the air is very dry at this altitude. And for my health, that's just the best. Because
Mm.
I discovered that one of the biggest causes of my fibromyalgia and other symptoms were toxins and heavy metals that were stuck in my liver from the things that we breathe in or products on our skin. So there was also a lot of mold in my body that I had to detoxify. And
Wow.
that's because Belgium is very humid. And so for me, living in a very dry climate really helps me. I just feel more vibrant, more energetic here. My health is way better because of the altitude and in dry air. So what I love as well is that it's very close to the equator. So the whole year through,
Mm-hmm.
it gets dark around 6 p.m. the whole year through. And there are no seasons. There are only two seasons, let's say dry season and rainy season. But you
Yes.
must have experienced it here. Like when
Mm-hmm.
it's rainy season, it doesn't really rain that much. Me
Mm-hmm.
being from Belgium, in my opinion, this is not rain.
Right. Yeah. They don't know rain.
They don't know rain. So I have the sun in the morning, I have the sun at noon, and now there are some clouds showing up. So it might rain around 4 p.m. and then it's done again. So whether it's rainy season or dry season, I always have that sun. And that just makes me happy. It makes people happy. And yeah, I love it. So yeah, we're very close to Machu Picchu. Everyone comes here to Cusco to visit Machu Picchu.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said like, yeah, the pieces of the two cultures, I just wanted to comment on that I was 21 when I moved here,
Mm-hmm.
and right now I'm 28.
Okay.
And I do feel like that window of time for anyone is the time where you grow a lot, right? Your personality gets really formed. And so I feel like I'm a mix between the two cultures.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a lot of both.
Yes.
So when I go to Belgium, I look like everybody else, but I feel like a tourist mostly.
Well, you've
And when
already
I'm
lived
here,
like a quarter of your life there already now.
right? Yeah, now that you say it that way, yeah, it's true. But here I look different as everybody else, but I behave like everybody else.
Yeah.
They always laugh. My friends laugh at me and say that I'm very Cusqueña, as they would call it, like someone from Cusco. So
Lovely.
yeah, my Belgian side, I've used it. Now that you were saying that, I realized that years ago, let's say 4 years ago, first I had a corporate job, a
Mm-hmm.
manager at a Spanish school. And then when I started having more gigs in the evening, actually I started working freelance already, but without really naming it. I stopped working full time,
Mm-hmm.
and people found out and they were like, "Oh, Maya's not working there anymore. Maybe she has time to help me out." And they started asking me like, "Hey Maya, I have a Spanish school too and it's not efficient. We don't have a schedule. How do we do this?" Or a restaurant of, "Oh, hey, how can I organize my bookings and reservations?" So I would use my Belgian side to help Peruvian businesses become more efficient. So it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of already starting
Yes.
back then. Yeah.
Nice. Well, you mentioned to me earlier that you could speak to seeing the business opportunities in your biggest passions. How does someone go about uncovering those opportunities? Like, for instance, if someone's passion is, I don't know, hiking, what would you suggest that they do, or where would they start? How would they start to uncover a business opportunity?
Yeah, and it's good that you already give an example because sometimes our biggest passion is kind of our blind spot, right? Or
Mm,
our insecurity. For me, singing was an insecurity. I didn't even think it would become a job, basically.
right.
And then journaling was a blind spot. So journaling was something I did from when I was 12. And I would always like journal prompts just pop into my mind every day, but I never thought of making it a membership or a product to sell online until I think maybe a friend told me, or I was brainstorming. I was on the beach on the Canary Islands. I remember. far away from Belgium and Peru, and kind of there's something about being by the sea that
Yes.
gives you that inspiration. So if you want to start something with hiking, and you already know that that's what it is, have that kind of as your focus. Look around, meet people who are hiking, meet organizations that organize hikes. See what do you like about hiking, and would it even be a fun income, or do you just want to keep it as a Saturday Sunday activity for yourself? You know, not every passion is a great job, or sometimes when we turn a passion into a job, it's not fun anymore, right?
That's so true. There was a ski town that I lived in for many, many years. And I remember at one point the local ski hill was, in fact, looking for investors. And a friend of mine who is an excellent skier definitely had the financial means to invest and be part of it. But he said, you know what? I love skiing. I don't want to have anything to do with the
Mm.
business aspect of it, investment aspect of it. I'm just going to buy my lift ticket, my season's pass, and go for the very reasons that you just mentioned.
Yeah, and I really get that. I really get that because not every
Mhm.
passion is meant to be a job in the end. Because then you have, like your friend said, then you have to be thinking about it or strategizing or being consistent with it. And with some passions, you just want to be inconsistent, and just do it when you feel you want to do it. So that's important. But then when
Mhm.
you do feel like, okay, hiking, you know what, I do want to turn it into my job. Okay, so explore, right? Explore possibilities. Like we said in the beginning, it's not just yes possible or no possible. It's just
Becomes
there
how.
are so many ways. Yeah, keep
Mhm.
that mind open, meet people who do it, look at organizations who organize hikes. If you just daydream, what would that ideally look like? Do you want a global community of hikers, or what can you start with just wherever you are right now?
Mhm.
Can you just gather some friends to start with and hike
Yes.
with friends, and then see how you can maybe monetize and sell it to friends of friends, and
Mhm.
start kind of a hiking club? Or you might not want to do the hikes with people. Maybe you want to sell them. Maybe you just want to work at an agency that focuses, or you want to work at a shop where they sell hiking stuff. Anything could be connected in so many ways to your passion.
Yes.
For me, it's very fun to. Right now, I'm a virtual assistant of a drummer as well, who has a membership about drumming classes, whatever. So for me, it's very fun to do something else, a job I'm good at, but that's connected to my passion for
Yes.
music.
Mhm. And when I was thinking about the hiking, there's a very specific type of flower arrangements that I know this woman is very good at. And she lives very close to the outdoors to be able to go out and pick and stuff. And I said, rather than just teaching people in the classroom, you could do like a whole day where all the students go out into the forest with you and you show them what to look for and then bring back whatever you've all gathered to then do the arrangement and make it more of like a day event on a Saturday or something versus just a one-off
Ah,
evening class or something. The
yeah, that sounds
possibilities are
great.
ending. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds great because many people do go to evening classes. But yeah, how about you just go out into the woods? And
Hmm.
her passion for hiking right there, just walk around, pick those flowers, and then go to into class. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a concept that might be refreshing for people as well.
Yeah. Or if you're one of those people that know actually what you can and cannot eat in the woods, that would be very
Yeah,
educational too. A lot of
it
people don't
would.
know that. And
Yeah. One last tip
mhm.
around that is talk to friends who have very entrepreneurial minds as well. Because I can
Ah,
hear you
yeah.
brainstorming now. You see it clearly what she could be doing, but she maybe probably hasn't even thought of those possibilities. So
Hmm.
sometimes when you're so, like we said before, when you're so close into your own thing and your own idea, it's
Yeah.
hard. But when you talk to other people who also have that entrepreneurial mind, brainstorm with them, ask them, like, help me find ideas, or how would it fit best with me.
Which you did for the VA.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to actually tell me create that page because I was already VAing.
Mhm. Yeah.
I already had clients, but I didn't have a page on my website or anything. It was just like a, no, it's a side hustle, right? It's just a thing. But once I created the page, and really, you also put it out into the universe. You tell the, hey, universe, I'm serious about this. Okay. I created
Hmm.
a page. This is going to be my rates. I'm serious. I'm reaching out to all these people.
How is this going to come
Instead,
about? Help me now. Yeah.
yeah, instead of being like, See, it's a side hustle. It doesn't matter. It
Mhm.
does. It does matter because it fills your heart with joy, and it
Mhm.
fills hopefully your wallet with money, which
Yes.
can bring you more joy.
And it's one thing to put it out into to the universe, just like you described. But then when we get those promptings, the intuition, whatever you want to call it, then it's our responsibility to then act on it, to actually sit down, for example, with those people that ended up saying to you, forget what everybody else is hearing. Here's what you need to do. Go back to your website, build this page, etc. And then not only did you follow through with connecting with them, then you went back and tweaked your website.
Yeah, and then I jumped into action, so
Yes.
the action piece is also very important, but I had a counter argument of, these VAs who just charge $6 an hour. I don't know if I can do 50. And then one argument they said was like, people who go on those websites, they're kind of shopping, profile shopping. They don't know the person, so then obviously the price or the rate is a big argument there in their decision making. But when they hear a recommendation from someone, or they know you personally, or they're looking in their network, prices are different there
Yes.
because someone recommended you, because they know you, and then they're not shopping for the lowest price. They want quality.
Yeah.
And they said you want to work with those entrepreneurs who have the budget and want quality over quantity of price. So that was one argument. And the second one, the moment we got into the pricing topic, they said, okay, so how much do you charge? And I was like, 30, because I was trying to work up to 30. And then the guy said, oh, that's quite cheap. And I said, really? If I may ask, what are the prices here in Belgium? Because I'm so far away for so long already. I
Mhm.
have no idea.
Yeah.
And then that's when they said, a basic freelancer is 50 an hour. And for me, that sounded like a lot, but for
Yes.
them, that sounded like the basic price.
Yes.
So super important to ask those questions to people, to talk about it to the right people, the people have that vision and have that business and that mindset, who can actually encourage you and challenge your assumptions or thinking around prices and what type of business you could have.
And you found a way to be paid that amount by not focusing on the platforms, but drawing people to your own website and connecting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Also showing them kind of the worth of, hey, one person who pays me 50 wants me to really brainstorm with him. Fine. I'm going to tell you, he wants someone to tell him what to do.
Yes.
And I'm good at that.
Yeah. And those ideas that you're brainstorming could be worth tens of thousands, if not hundreds of $1,000s or more. So $50 is,
Exactly.
yeah. So you're a really good deal. So what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Maya?
Yeah, absolutely. On my website, they can find everything. That's mayalombarts.com. So I'm sure you're going to put it in the show notes, but I
Absolutely.
just spell it out now. It's MAYALOMBARTS.com. And that's the same name for Instagram as well. So if you want to hang out there as well, my pleasure. It's Maya Lombarts.
Wonderful. Well, I know what it's like to move to a new city where you don't know anybody, you're not familiar with the geography. It really is quite an adventure. But moving from one country to another, that's like a whole other level of learning and adjusting. So clearly, you know how to take action and move forward in spite of so much uncertainty and unknowns. So, what's your best tip, Maya, to help inspire others to pursue their side hustle dream?
To jump into action, I would say don't overthink it. Like
Mm,
put it out there even before you build a website.
okay.
Just test the waters. That would be my tip. Just test the waters. When you have an idea, try something. Also ask yourself, okay, what's the smallest version of this idea I have that I could already start implementing or playing around with
Right.
before kind of in that little office in your room where nobody sees it, spending days and weeks on building something and then putting it out there, and then it might not work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yes.
why sometimes I think like stop thinking, stop planning, just, the very Peruvian way, jump in and do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Maya, for sharing your lived experience and insights on the lifestyle of juggling multiple hustles and expanding our knowledge of VA and a lot of tips and things to look for in that regard and how to build a business, and for being today's side hustle hero.
Yeah, this was such a lovely chat. Thank you, Joan.
You heard Maya mention that after 3 years in Peru, she realized that relying on a salary in the local currency wasn't going to allow her to lead the life that she wanted, which included buying plane tickets in euros to visit family and friends back in Belgium. So she left Peru, went back home, but she wasn't happy until one day her thinking shifted from I can't to how can I? How can I live in Peru and earn euros so I can travel back and forth? Online businesses, of course. What would that look like? It can literally be life-changing when we shift our thinking from I can't because, and here's all the reasons, to ways of how I can, and begin to brainstorm that side of the question. But sometimes before we can even attempt to start to do that, we need to be aware of mental blocks or unconscious beliefs, or you might even call them assumptions we make that just aren't true. I moved to Vancouver, Canada about 6 years ago. About 7 years ago, when living in another community where I owned a self-storage facility, a realtor contacted me to say that he had a client who wanted to buy the facility. I discussed it with my business partner and we decided, no, it wasn't for sale. Well, about 6 months later, that same realtor contacted me again to say that his client really wanted to buy it, and he presented me with a signed offer for exactly what I had told him it was worth. Again, we said no, it wasn't for sale, and we did not sell it at that time. But what happened was having that signed offer in my hand caused me to think, okay, if we did sell, what would I do? And the first thing that popped into my mind was I'd move to Vancouver. Then, boom, huge light bulb moment. In that moment, I realized that I had been operating under the unconscious, false belief that as long as I owned the storage facility, I would have to live in the community, which of course was not the case, but in my mind it was. So like Maya, I switched from I can't to how can I? What would need to happen for me to keep the facility and live in Vancouver? I discovered the changes I needed to make in the business were minor. The changes I needed to make in my mind were major. So I moved, kept the facility, and ran it from a distance until just last year when we did decide to sell. So are there choices you're making now out of habit or custom that are no longer serving you? Sometimes we do things just because that's what's done in our family or our community. A very long time ago, when I married, I automatically took my husband's last name. Why? Because that's just what you did, at least in my family and circle of friends. But it wasn't a conscious, thought-out choice. Then, about 5 years later, we decided to move across the country, and I was filling out some paperwork for the move, and I thought, wait a minute, I never really gave any thought to the name change. Since it's kind of like we're starting from scratch in this new community, this would be a really good time to change it back to Posivy, which I did. Now, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting who should or shouldn't change their last name. My point is solely that I initially was not making a conscious choice, but rather just doing what everybody around me was doing. We all go through life to one degree or another with horse blinkers on, preventing us from seeing other possibilities beyond our habitual way of thinking. It's one of the reasons I so value having good, thought-provoking discussions with people who I trust, who can challenge my thinking. Maya was fortunate to sit down with friends and colleagues back in Belgium who caused her to realize that she didn't have to rely on $11 an hour VA gigs offered by the platforms, but rather she could reach out to her contacts in the Belgium market and charge at minimum $50 an hour. I encourage you to have at least one good brainstorming session this week with a trusted person or people who are skilled in an area of business or life in general that you want to improve. Who knows, maybe you'll be a guest on a future Side Hustle Hero episode where we can talk about the moves and changes you've made as a result of your thinking being challenged. Well, that's a wrap for today. You'll find a link to Maya's website and the show notes on our website, sidehustleheropodcast.com. And I'd love to hear your feedback on the show, on the guests, how this podcast is helping you. What areas could we do better? Shoot me an email message to hello@joanposivy.com or by DM on Instagram @JoanPosivy. Thanks for listening and hustle on.